I mean, that just tells you that I am not polygamous in nature. Because even in my imaginations, I can't picture two people together at the same period of time. She's so pretty. Oh my God. She's so clever. She's such an intelligent woman. Oh, see, she's such a wife material. And don't do that. No, don't do that to yourself. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I know you're wondering, this girl is always going and coming and all that. This is funny because even this video is not in any way planned. I hope I don't sound weird, and I'm hoping I'm not the only one. It's okay if I'm the only one, but I tend to talk to myself a lot. I mean, like actual conversations, like loud conversations, just the way I'm having right now. And just a few minutes ago, like I was talking to myself, and it's on a topic that's been on my mind for a while. And I was just talking. I was working and I got distracted, and I was just talking to myself about grief, right? How that grief has the utmost capacity to change people, either for good or for bad, for the best or for worse. It just occurred to me that I should pick up my phone and actually record. I don't know if this is going to come out. So if you see it, that means it's coming out, right? But it means that now I have to start the conversation over again with myself. I don't know if it's going to come out as authentic as it was sounding to me initially, but we'll see. And yeah, we'll see. So hi, my name is Faith Oluborode. If you're new here, you're welcome. On this channel, I do film about faith, love, relationship, parenting, lifestyle. And I'm filming from Umuahia, Nigeria. If you're a returning subscriber, you're welcome. Thank you guys for always coming back to watch my videos. I am so grateful. So without wasting any time, we don't have time to waste. So before I lose my line of thought, let me just jump right into the video. I would not exactly say that I have experienced grief in the utmost way before, but the closest that I have experienced to grief would be the passing of my grandfather. That's my maternal grandfather. It's funny because he was the only one that I knew as a grandparent, right? Both my dad's parents had passed years even before, we were born. My mom's mom died while she was still a baby, maybe at 3 or 4 months. And so it was just my grandfather. It was just my mom's dad that we met. And we never really had like the strongest relationship with him because of distance. But however, we heard the best things about him. And growing up, we knew that he was a good man, right? He was a good man. He was a really good man. My parents would tell us stories of how he was so accepting of my dad whilst they were getting married, even though, people were against it and everything like that, because my dad is a pastor, and pastors are known to be broke and jobless and all of that. Full-time ministry, what do you expect? But my grandfather loved my dad so much, loved him like a son even. And I remember we always traveled as a teenager. We always, even like a few years before my granddad passed, we always traveled once every year. I think about like every second or third of January every year, to my mom's hometown, right? To see my granddad and go with gift and foodstuffs and all of those things. That was the only time of the year that we always spent. And it wasn't like we slept over. I had never slept over. It was like we just went and we just traveled and came back the same day. Just go see him and come back. A few times he would come over to Ibadan to be with us for a few days. My granddad he loved to be on his farm. He wasn't somebody that would just want to sit down and be fed and all that. He wanted to work. And so he would always go back, right? And he always called my dad pastor, like sir. Like I've never heard him call my dad by name. It's so funny because pastor, and I'm like, this man is such an honorable man, right? He was a minister at Redeem. I don't know how Redeem does their pastoring and ranking thing, but I knew he was a minister. And before he passed, he was a Christian. He loved and served God. And of course, he wasn't always like that. I mean, my mom told me that growing up, he didn't believe in a lot of things. He was one of those men that didn't think that a female child or a girl child should go to school and all of that. And so my mom did not go to school. He would train her elder brother. There's a story to that, and I don't want to talk about it. He would train her elder brother. It's funny because I mean, my mom grew up and my dad carried my grandfather's matter on his head. I mean, that's to tell you that it's not about gender, right? It's not about gender. Girl children or girl child are one of the most reliable you can have. Let me just leave it like that. So you want to actually train your girl child, right? Well, let's just keep that. And 2020 passed. The story leading up to his passing was quite because 2020 was such a a depressing year. I don't even know what to call it. It was just that year that was, I think it was one of the worst years, yeah, of my life. I think it was one of the worst because people kept dying. And it wasn't just about people that I knew, it was just people generally being online saying, oh, this person passed, or not knowing people. And then when they pass, you get to, know about them. And it was just so terrible. I remember Mama Ibidone Godalo passing in 2020. I had never, it's funny because I never heard of her before she passed. But when she passed, it was like I knew her. I remember crying and I'm like, why are you crying? But I cried. I wept because you just get to meet people and just see that 2020 was just taking people. And it was just so annoying, right? It was just so frustrating. It was just so devastating. I was depressed. I think 2020 was the year when I started to understand the gravity of depression. It was a hard time, for Nigeria, for my family. It was the year when I decided I was not going to go on with my BSc program. Isn't that weird? I know, yeah, a lot of people are hearing this for the first time. It was the year that I decided, oh, I wanted to stop the one I was doing and start another one. It was just a year of a lot of things happening. You would hear, oh, this family member died, oh, this person died, oh, this person died. So it was just like, why is everybody dying? I remember also somebody dying, a former JCCF president at my school at the time passing. It's funny because I've never said hello to this guy, but I cried till I became sick. Because it was just like, why? Like, what's going on? So now crown it. My parents were prepping to actually go visit him, to travel. They wake up in the morning, they're prepping, it's early in the morning because it's interstate, so they have to prep early. I remember my dad already dressed, my mom was dressing up, she was in the bathroom, and then we get a call. Apparently, my grandfather passed early that morning. We all had to keep straight faces and acted like nothing was up because we didn't know how to tell my mom. My mom loves her father. And minus her loving her father, she is a very dramatic person, right? So we weren't sure what to tell her, how to tell her, how she would react. We couldn't predict her reaction. So my dad was like, let everybody just act like nothing has happened and let's just travel like, we're traveling. But they left the house without us telling her. But apparently, even before they moved out of Ibadan, another family member had called us, be like, oh, you know what's going on, and all of those things. So he passed. And it's funny because I didn't cry. Can you imagine? And that's one thing that happens with grief. I'm just putting that story out there because grief, there are stages to grief. But I'm not here to talk about stages because, like I said, I'm just sharing what is going on inside of me right now. So I do not do any research to say, oh, now let me come and tell you about grief, stages of grief, this, you experience denial. I don't know. I don't know about that. I'm just going to tell you how I feel. One of the things that we struggle with is, or that we face, especially with grief, and I will be diverting because grief is not only experienced when a loved one passes to the other side. Grief is also experienced when you lose a loved one in a relationship, right? So that's like getting separated to break fast or heartbreak and everything like that. So both losing a loved one to eternity, right, to death, which is like life, right, for people who believe, and also losing a loved one in a relationship to break fast, they both kind of have the same story line or the same experiences, to be very honest. That's how I feel. And so I'm just going to be intertwining that. This video might be long, so just get ready. Anywho, my grandfather had left instructions on how to be buried. So there was no time to keep his body at the morgue because Baba said, don't keep my body in the mortuary. Okay. Of course, not being kept at the morgue means that there is no time to waste time, right? And so I travel, we get there, everywhere's cool, people are okay. Funeral program had started. And yeah, I still wasn't crying until my mom started to cry. I mean, it's her dad, right? But at funerals, my mom would cry. And it was a promise I made to myself never to sit with my mom at a funeral, no matter what. Because what's gonna happen to my steez if I start crying? Okay, because I know that for the most part, if I'm alone, not because I don't feel the pain or the hurt, it's just I would try my best not to cry. But once my mom starts crying, that's it. That's all you get. But the highlight for me was how the feeling I had. At this time, I had not exactly accepted that he died. Not because I didn't know he died. I'm an adult, so I know he died. We are not going to see him again. But I remember, I don't know what they call it, lying in state where they walk around and look at the person. All that I could feel at that point was just satisfaction. I remember looking at him and just smile. It's funny because people were crying, me, I was smiling. I was smiling with this sense of satisfaction, like I just knew that my grandfather had gone to heaven. You know that thing that somebody died, they're like, I'm gonna be too low. We don't know where this person went to. Me, I knew. Like there was just this knowing in my heart that this man is in heaven. There was just this knowing in my heart, in my spirit man, and my spirit man was just rejoicing. So at that time, my flesh and my emotions had not come into play. It was just my spirit at work, and I was just so happy and so joyful in my spirit. I was just smiling because as soon as my mom started crying, and by the time I was done, activating my spirit, and I gave into my emotions, and I cried. Right now, all of this is just me, just reliving that experience. Right. I remember the first time the tears dropped by itself was when we were done with burial outside, and then we walked into the house. It just dawned on me that this is probably the last time I will be here. And right now I'm here. Grandpa is not in the house. And I think that was when I cried. Well, of course, my steez had to be on point, so I had to pick myself up because people I don't cry by this time. So you can't wait for I don't cry that me, I'm not crying my own cry. And so, I had to pick up myself and just dust it off because we had to go and serve puff puff and malt. And I had to carry my puff puff and malt because my siblings were waiting in the back door for me to bring puff puff and malt. Oh my god. So this is just background story, right, of the highest level of grief or the highest level of loss that I have experienced so far in my life. And so for me, it started with I'm good, right? It started with chesting it, like grandpa has passed, life moves on, like he has gone to heaven, I know. So there's something to be bothered about and all of that. But then I'm tracing it back now in retrospect and understanding the fact that my desire for a big wedding disappeared after I lost my grandfather. And that's when you know that something happened to you. That's when you know that even though you didn't cry or grieve or all of that, something happened. For me, it was that was when I started following the opinion of, oh, small weddings are cute. And to be honest, small weddings are cute. I think I've told myself that like so much now that I believe it to be true, right? That I now believe that that's really what I want. Apparently, because as a teenager growing up into an adult, I had always envisioned my grandfather at my wedding. I had always said in my mind, I never said it out to anybody, but I'd always wanted and just be, a girl. And at the same, I don't know if it's all girls, but I have pictures of what I want my wedding to look like. When I wanted a big wedding, I had pictures of what I wanted it to look like. And now that I want a small wedding, I have a picture of what I want it to look like. And honestly, I don't think there's anything that will make me want a big wedding anymore, or that will make me go for a big wedding anymore. I don't know if this feeling is going to change, yeah, but we'll see when that time eventually comes. But at the time when the picture of a big wedding was what I always had, it was that my grandfather and my father it was going to be both of them walking me down the aisle. And I always looked forward to it. It was the grand picture. It was like supposed to be the highlight of my wedding day. And so when my grandfather died, it was just like that dream and that hope and that picture and that future just went into thin air and just it just made me understand something happened to me. Even though I wasn't wailing, even though I wasn't crying, even though I know that my grandfather is in heaven and is having fun, and is looking at me like, you this girl gonna have your big wedding. It's just like it would never be the same, right? Or now that I am in a place where I can actually call my grandfather and have conversations because now I'm in a good place, we're now grown and we can now actually check up on him and be like, Grandpa, how are you? And just have a relationship. Because like all of that just went down the drain and you can't have that. And it's just so painful for me because we had a relationship, but it wasn't a relationship of, oh, I could just pick up my phone and call him because we didn't grow up like that. And I always loved him and I knew he loved us because him not giving my mom education is something that he regretted throughout. And so he was always so particular about our education. Call my mom and ask her, oh my, has she gotten admission? This, what's going on and all that. Let them go to school, let them read, tell them to study and all that. And when he was supposed to now start experiencing and seeing the profit and the benefit, he just goes like that. So it was really painful. I think that each time now that I think I still have his phone number. It's funny, I think somebody is using it because one time I tried it and it rang and I was so upset, like, who is using his phone number? I'm just saying that sometimes we think that losing someone or going through grief that we are not affected, but somehow it just affects a major part of our lives. And if we don't watch it, we won't even know why we are making certain decisions. We won't know why we're doing certain things. It's like getting out of a relationship or a relationship ending, right? And this for people that are actually like, that give their 100% in relationships. I know that there are people that don't get affected by these things. I know there are people that when they break up or when somebody breaks up with them, a month later they're already in another relationship. It's not even what I'm talking about. I'm thinking about people like me that don't know how to let go easily or move on easily or get really distraught when relationships end, right? And that's because I don't do rubbish. If there's another way to put it, I don't do rubbish, okay? I give my 100% because I don't go wanting to play. I go wanting to be serious. When you're serious and you give your 100%, it means that you're already imagining future with the person. For me, I've only had one actual relationship. But even with, being in situationships and all of that, it's really difficult to let go. I remember experiencing my first and only heartbreaks of, no, it's my second heartbreak, but from my first relationship. So let's just say that I have been responsible for one heartbreak before. But like the actual heartbreak that came from a relationship, for me, I think that it is not really about the event of the breakup in itself that makes people grieve in the way that they do sometimes. I believe that it is the pain and the sadness and the hurt of losing every castle that you have built in your mind about this relationship. So it's like, I am an adult, right? I am in a relationship and we're already talking marriage. So that means that in my head as a woman, I don't know if I'm not in the men's head, so I don't know how they process relationships and pictures and future. But for me, my imagination works amazingly, right? So I have pictures, I have frames in my head, I have scenarios played out. So I have thought about our wedding, I've thought about the engagement, I've thought about having kids with this person. That's because I would not even go into a relationship with someone that doesn't look like it in the first place. So I'm not here to joke, okay? In my relationship, it was quite something that I really thought was going to be marriage stuff. When you're in that kind of relationship, you already vision a lot of things. For me and this person, in fact, we had just started saving for our wedding. So it was serious. I knew, okay, engagements are usually surprises. So, I oblige, surprise me. But I have a ring in mind. I know what I want. So you're surprising me with the event. You're not surprising me with the knowing of it. You're not surprising me with the kind of ring that I want. About this is the kind of ring I want to. I know that this is the shape of the ring, And we're already envisioning a lot of things, these things. We're already talking, oh, it's small wedding, it's big wedding, oh, it's this, it's that, oh, how do we do it? Da 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 da. So there were already pictures played out, there were already discussions, there were already actions being made. And then when you now have to go your separate ways, it can be really devastating, to be honest. It can be really devastating. It can demobilize you, it can just mess you up. In that kind of situation, when you are grieving, because people don't understand that even losing a relationship that you care so much about or that you already had envisioned that it was going somewhere can mess you up, can make you grieve like somebody actually died. And I think I've come to a place where I accept and I acknowledge the fact that you can grieve a relationship. I think that people in a bid to look a certain way or in a bid to keep up a certain level of respect from people or in a bid to feel like they're strong people and love does not move them, or in a bid to act like breakups do not affect them, deny themselves to feel all the emotions that is meant to be felt when they are in a relationship, or I mean when they lose, or when a relationship ends, right? But for me, it's not like that. I would feel, I would cry, I would wail even. And I'm not just wailing because of the event. I'm not crying because of the event. I'm crying and I'm hurt and I'm pained because of all of the hopes, the aspirations, the castles in my mind, all the pictures, all the imaginations, the future with you that I have built up in my mind. And now all of that is thrown out into thin air. All the money spent, the emotions put into it, the time, all of the commitments. And this is not for people who don't commit. For people like us that commit 100%, it can be a lot. There's no point living in denial that you don't feel a certain way, because how do you actually want to heal if you don't accept that something is wrong with you? And like in the case where I started to want a small wedding, because now what's the point of having a big wedding when my grandfather will not be in the picture that I already had? It's the same thing with even breakups. It's the fact that now I am in this place and we are broken up. I'm acting like nothing is wrong with me. But now the next person that I meet, first off, I don't even want to meet anybody. But now I meet somebody and I don't even want a wedding. I just want us to go to the court. And you think, oh, I'm just growing up, like I'm just losing interest in like the affair or the affairs of life. But you don't know that it's the hurt that you have experienced from that, from losing that last relationship, now that is making you not even want a wedding or a white wedding, because now the white wedding that you had envisioned did not have this present person in it. It had this last person in it. So now, because this last person is no longer in that picture, you no longer want that kind of wedding. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So grief can be hard. But one of the things that you should also now appreciate about grief, to make it make sense to you, is the fact that I am actually grieving this much because I experienced a level of love from this person. For me, my grandfather, I loved him so much, and I knew he loved us. Even though we didn't have the most present kind of relationship, I just knew that he loved us because he loved my mother, he loved my father. A man that would treat his son-in-law as his son. I mean, what's there not to? I have acknowledged the fact that if I feel this way about his passing, it's because I loved him so much, right? It's because he loved me so much. It's because we had the potential to have the most amazing relationship. And as much as we don't have the opportunity to have that here, I am with this sense of satisfaction that wherever he is seeing us and is happy and is enjoying God and is grateful, and he is content, right? And I am content as well for the life that he lived. It's the same thing with breakups. It's the same thing as saying, oh yeah, this relationship has ended for whatever reason it ended. I'm hurting, I'm pained. I really wish it didn't have to end, but it has ended. So what are we going to do? I'm going to appreciate the time that we spent together. I'm going to appreciate the fact that I could even picture us together in that way. I don't know where this line of thought is taking me to. Like I said, I'm just sharing, my thoughts and my feelings with you guys. So it's not like there is a moral lesson or something. I just feel like it's okay to actually admit that you grieve. It's okay to admit that you feel hurt by losing someone or by experiencing breakup. It's okay. It just means that you had it good while it lasted, for the length of the period that the good lasted. Those pictures, those ideas, those imaginations that you had in your head and that you feel like have all vanished into vapor, it's also something to be grateful for. Because there are people who are in a relationship and they can't even, some people don't even have the ability to envision or to imagine. Some people to be able to imagine is a gift. It's something to be grateful for. It's something to be appreciative of. Because some people have even lost the ability for imagination. Some people have lost the ability to picture. Some people have lost the ability to actually build castles up in the air. It's beautiful to be able to build castles up in the air, but just knowing that everything is for good, you know, just knowing that life always gets better. Grief doesn't go away. I think that's one thing I've learned. Sometimes I even forgot. I forget I ever had a grandfather. Sometimes I forget that my grandfather is even dead. But when I remember, it's just overwhelming. It just feels like, oh my god. What happens is that eventually you learn to get used to it. Like you learn to get used to. You never really accept it. For me, I've not accepted it. But you just learn to get used to it. You just learn to move on. You just learn to go away. You just learn to move on to other things. And even with breakups and everything like that, especially for people like me who already built up castles in the air or who already had like the ideas. And, one thing dawned on me is the fact that you might think when you're going through breakups, you feel like I can't picture myself with anybody else. It's just like it's so hard. I cannot even afford to picture myself with anybody else. Yes, that feeling is valid. And it's okay to feel that way. Don't beat yourself up. Just move on with your life. Admit that you feel that way. Eventually it will pass. It's so funny because it will pass. There was a time about 4 years ago, there was someone that I was into so badly, right? And for the longest time that I was into this person, I never ever had the ability to picture myself with somebody else. It was so funny because all the ideas that I had in my head was just with weddings and with relationship and even with parenting and everything. It was with only this person. Like even if I was not thinking about this person and the idea of a wedding or the thoughts of a wedding comes to my head, it was always going to be this person in the picture. And that's because at the time, this is the only person that I know or that I feel this way towards. And I can't think about anybody else. I mean, that just tells you that I am not polygamous in nature. Because even in my imaginations, I can't picture two people together at the same period of time. It's not just possible. And this lasted for years and years and years. I'm talking years. All those teenage love now. So it lasted for a very long period of time. And before then, if anybody had told me that that picture would change and it would be somebody else in that picture, I wouldn't believe it. Isn't it amazing? I would not believe it because I would not think that I had the ability or the capacity to picture that same frame with somebody else. I think it makes sense. It's like with my grandfather walking me down the aisle with my dad. So now I picture my dad walking me down the aisle alone, of course. But not in a big wedding. Isn't it funny? But with this relationship thing, right? It's that at that time I couldn't picture myself with any other person except this person. Even when I try to, it doesn't work. And for someone who is so picture, who is so creative in their imagination, especially when it comes to building castles up in the air, it's funny because it just never happened. I didn't have the ability to do that. And up until I was able to move past this person and then got into an actual relationship with my ex, it was something that I never knew was possible for me. Now with my ex, it's like right now I still cannot picture another person, right? Even now it's still that person. And that just shows me that okay, I've not exactly entirely moved on, right? But now I am not beating myself up about it because I know that it will change. Why? Because it has changed before. It has changed before. But that was my first experience. So I would not believe that I had the capacity for it to change or that I had the capacity to change in any other way. But it has changed before. So now I'm going through it again with somebody else. Now I know that okay, it can actually change, right? It can change. And it will change eventually. Pictures that we have built up in our head is the reason why we struggle so much. And it's okay to struggle. It means that you had something good going on while at it. And just be patient with yourself when you're grieving or when you're going through loss or when you're going through heartbreaks, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whichever one. Be patient with yourself and just allow yourself the grace that you give to others. A lot of us, we give other people grace, right? We give other people grace, but we don't give ourselves grace. We beat ourselves up. You tell your friends, oh, don't worry, just take your time. Okay, just take your time. It will take a while, but just take your time. But with your child, you're beating yourself and be like, why can't you just get over this person? This person was a bully. This person wasn't kind to you. This person wasn't nice to you. And you're just here wallowing in your self-pity and all that. Blah, 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 blah. You're so incapable of loving yourself or what? No, 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 no. Don't do that to yourself. Allow yourself the time to grieve. Allow yourself the time to feel all the emotions that there is to feel. But do not ever, so now I'm diverting, right? I'm diverting from like grief and to just like breakups, right? Do not ever feel like you're a failure because the relationship ended. It's okay to admit that, oh, you were wrong, and maybe if you had done things differently, things wouldn't have ended, or it would have ended differently, or it wouldn't have ended at all. It's okay to admit it. It just shows that you are a good person and that you are responsible enough to admit that you were wrong in a certain aspect, and it will help you going forward. But don't ever feel like you are a failure. Don't ever feel like you can't do anything correctly in your life. Don't ever feel like, oh, finally you had a relationship and you have just messed it up. That's how you just mess everything up. That's how you are so incapable of loving. That's how you are so incapable of accepting love. That's how you are so incapable of doing anything right. That's how you are so incapable of succeeding. That's how you are so... No, 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 no. Don't let that be your portion. Don't let that be your portion. Don't let that be your portion. Don't let that be you. Capable of loving, you're capable of being loved, you are worthy of being loved. Don't let because somebody broke up with you, you're feeling like you're not worthy of being loved. I struggle with that a lot. I struggled. So I just looked at, I know that I have small bad character, but is it that bad? You not start asking yourself, am I such a bad person? Am I such a terrible person? Is it that I'm not worthy of this person? Especially because for someone like me, I wouldn't date somebody that I don't feel like is really like good, kind person. And so maybe when the person doesn't love you back, or the person doesn't return the same energy, or in a breakup situation, or in a situationship situation, or in a situation where, oh, I love this person, but friends, I feel like we can be more, and the person is like, I don't think we can be more, like you're just good for friendship, you're not good for girlfriendship or wifeship, and you're just like, if we can be friends, why can't we date? And it's like, am I not worthy of you? And that thing just irks me, right? It's like, oh, I'm not worthy of this person. What am I not doing right? And then you start to want to be something else. So this person can find you worthy. You do so many things. So this person can find you worthy. And it's such a terrible place to be at. It's such a terrible place to be at. It is the worst place to be at. The place where you want to overdo, or you want to become something else so that this person will now eventually see you, or you want to become something because now this person will eventually come to the realization. What's the word? Is it Bob light or square Bob? Or just the boom moment of, oh my God, like, she's so pretty. Oh my God, she's so clever. She's such an intelligent woman. Oh, see, she's such a wife material. And don't do that. No, don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself. Because what happens when you do all of those things and they still don't pick you? You will lose yourself in the bid to gain someone else. Did you hear that? You will lose yourself in a bid to gain someone else. That's word. Don't lose yourself in a bid to gain someone else. Because that's what a lot of us unconsciously do and become. And so we become irritable, we become resentful, we become hateful, we become unkind to people because of that experience, right? And it's not good. It's not, nobody is worth turning you into that kind of person. Um, so don't dwell on it. Don't feel like you're not worthy. You're worthy. You're worthy of all the love. You're worthy and deserving of it. You don't even have to do anything to earn it. You can be loved. Don't think, oh, you have bad character. Have you seen people with terrible characters getting married? Oh, please. Right? So don't think that you're a failure. Don't, the thought will cross your mind, I assure you. It will cross your mind. But don't accept it. Don't let it dwell. Don't let it sit. Don't let it marinate. Spit it out. Okay? So yeah. This is just me sharing my thoughts and my current state of mind, right? Everybody will be good. One thing that my friends and I say a lot is last, all of us gonna be all right. And that's the truth. That's the it, when you're currently going through the pain and the loss and all of that, and you're grieving and you're, in that state, it wouldn't look like last, everything would be all right. This is me telling you, for somebody that has experienced over time everything being all right, especially from situations where you feel like it will never be all right. This is me assuring you that everything will be all right. Last, all of us are gonna be okay. It's such an assuring thing to know, right? That I might feel lost, down, weak. I might feel like I can't take on another relationship because the hurt that I felt from the last time, I just feel so exhausted. I don't know if I can start again. Just know that eventually you will come to a point where you can actually start again. But whilst you're on the journey to get into that place, take your time, be kind, be nice, be loving, be appreciative of who you are, of yourself, love yourself, and be patient with yourself. And just appreciate the memories that you had whilst you had those people around you, both physically, and make the best. And I should drop this before going. Make the best out of the opportunity that you have with people. When you're in a relationship, as much as you're not doing that relationship with the hopes or with the mindset that is about to end or is going to end, do it like it's your last. Do it like today is the last day I have the opportunity to love this person. So I'm going to be present for this person. I'm going to be there for this person. I'm going to love this person. I'm going to tell them that I love them. I'm going to be present for them. Right? They love flowers. I'm going to get them flowers. They want me to be there. I'm not going to ignore their messages. Right? I'm going to be there for them. I'm not a birthday person, right? But my partner loves to celebrate birthdays and it's a big deal to her or to him. So I'm going to take it seriously because I don't know if I'll have another opportunity to celebrate on that birthday the next year. Um, do stuff like that with relationships with family and friends, and in relation to death and loss. Love people like it's your last day and your last opportunity to love them, because what happens when we lose relationships, no, not relationship, when we lose people to death, is that you are either feeling satisfied that you did your best and you gave your best to them whilst they were here, or you live in regret of the things that you should have done differently. And regret is the worst feeling to experience, or the worst emotion to experience when going through loss, because now it's going to elongate your your pain and make it even deeper and more severe. So you want that the only pain that you'll be feeling is the pain of not having them here again, right? But there will still be the memories and the satisfaction that comes with the memories of knowing that whilst they were here, I did my best. Whilst they were here, they knew that I loved them because I didn't stop talking about it. Whilst they were here, I tried my best to give my best in our relationship. Um, Especially now that we're growing up, and at this age you watch your parents age, and I think that's one of the most traumatic things, watching your parents grow old, and it's just like, oh my god, I can't believe my dad is almost 60. I can't believe it. Like, you get, like, I can't believe that my mom is past 50. Like, where did all the time go, right? And just watching them just become the older citizens, it's mixed feelings. Like, oh, it's beautiful, right? It's beautiful that they're growing old and all of that. I mean, it's a privilege to actually age, but just also knowing that is minus for you can be really devastating sometimes. So you want to actually make the best out of the time that you have, because as much as we pray for long life and we pray for lengthy years and all of that, life happens, right? And you want to put that into your equation when relating with them. So a fight that would have taken a week before you resolve it before, now you're taking a day or two because there's no time, right? Because there's no time and you don't want to live in regret. Something that you would have argued about. Now, I'm not arguing because it's pointless, right? Because it's pointless. Why waste all of that? Let it not take sickness for you to come into the realization of, oh, I need to build a relationship, or we need to fix, sorry, or oh, we need to fix this relationship. Let it not take death for you to wish that you had it differently with your loved ones, your friends, and all of that. Yeah. You guys, I don't know if you got anything from this thing, but yeah, that's just where my mind is. I need to go back to work. I have work. I need to go back to schoolwork actually. And yeah, so that's it. I don't know if you watched this point. If you did, wow, that's amazing. You're such a keeper. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. I'm so grateful. And till I see you again, be good, stay good, love yourself, um, relive memories, laugh while at it, and just be grateful to God that you're here one more time to feel the emotions of grief that you currently feel. It's an opportunity, it's even a privilege to feel emotions, to have emotions that you can feel. And just be grateful for the times that you have, and just make do of the time you have, fix your relationships, and just be grateful and happy, and you'll be okay. All right. Love you.